All right, it's time for another update with your boy, your host, the Real Shot 256. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining. Tonight, I want to kind of go back in time and sort of make sense of what's going on today based on what we have seen in the past. I know sometimes, history it doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes, right? So, want to go back and for this update, for this chart and pricing update on Bitcoin, I definitely want to go back into the past to see if there are any clues that will help us kind of figure things out for the future, right? So stay tuned for that. I do apologize if I have been kind of absent. I did just get back from a recent vacation last week and just trying to get everything situated so we can get back into the rhythm of things. So currently we're standing at $225 billion market cap. And we're currently trading about 72.7 billion in 24-hour trading volume, and BTC dominance is sitting around 66%, which is down from other from a couple of weeks ago. I actually want to go back and see what TradingView is telling us as far as dominance goes. Uh, yeah, they seem to disagree a little bit. Uh, TradingView is letting us know that according to their index, we're at about 68.27. I don't know if they list every altcoin out there, so certainly not sure if this is completely 100% accurate or if CoinMarketCap has the better number. You guys can definitely let me know what you guys think, who has the better index. But let's get right into it. I want to try to keep it as short as possible, short and sweet for you guys for the purpose of this video. And then we can keep the discussion going down in the comments. As always, please leave the comments in the YouTube video, not on any social media platform, so we can keep the conversation going here. And it just kind of gets easier to track that way. All right, so what we've seen in the past, right? So we see that Bitcoin has these violent moves upwards. Let's actually put a measurement on this from this bottom here to the top is kind of measuring about 1,221%, right? And then from this move in 2017, what do we got here from this pivot low to the all-time high at about 20,971%, right? But another thing they all have in common is, the big, huge retracements that we see, year after year, bull market after bull market. We do see the price of Bitcoin actually retracing quite a bit. I mean, if we look at this bottom here, I mean, it went right through that golden pocket, that golden zone between the 618 and the 382. I mean, can be said that could be said that's sort of the in a lot of people's eyes, that's the golden pocket, the golden zone to buy back in. But I mean, Bitcoin, although initially having some bounces right in that area, but ultimately just having the conviction to really go back down into this red below the 236, which again, I mean, it's this is not traditional markets, right? Traditional markets, if you see this, I mean, it's definitely far beyond what's expected, right? If you were in traditional markets, you see this sort of thing, you're like, yeah, it's doomsday, right? It's done, it's over with. Let's turn off the lights, let's pack our bags and let's go. But not so much in traditional, or not so much in crypto markets. Bitcoin has shown us that it has done this time after time after time. And it just doesn't seem to be, anything that's going to end anytime soon. We do see here in the last bull run from 2016 to 2017, same kind of deal, right? 900 and something percent run up, and then all the way down to the bottom. If you measure this, I mean, again, we're in that red zone, right? Way below the 236 is where we find an actual bottom. Just like we did here, way below. I'd say about 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way down into the 1/8, the 1/8 fib line. We do here again go about 2/3, maybe. Yeah, about 2/3 is probably more accurate on both measurements. So we do see here that Bitcoin just kind of has that sort of history, right? Now, how is that relevant to today, right? So we do see here more relevant, more current news or more current price action. We do see here actually Bitcoin reaching again from this all-time low or from this past market low to the all-time high, or from pivot high to pivot low, right? We do see what are we seeing here? We're actually seeing that Bitcoin had a nice bounce off the 236, right? Nice. And what do we have here? Nice bounce off of 236 several times, right? 1, 2, 3. Again, as things start to be retested, once these levels are starting to be retested once and over and again, they tend to become weaker. And it's what we're seeing here again, right? It's been tested. The 236 has been tested right here, right? And let's see if we are going to find a bounce. So for the title of this video, it seems sort of fitting, although it can be a little bit of a clickbait type of title. So I hope you are not too upset about that. I apologize about that, but it does work sometimes. So I'll just blatantly come out and say that. But okay, so we do find that initially we did have a nice bounce off this pivot low here. Now what's going to happen next, right? That's the question in everybody's mind. So obviously the two scenarios that are sort of staring us in the face. I do want to do another measurement here from this, and we can use the same one here, just for the sake of saving a little bit of time. All right, so where are we at now? All right, we're making sort of a bounce of still within the golden zone. Again, this range is specific to this run here. So meaning that we could still come back in typical Bitcoin fashion. We can still come back and retest the 236. Now, I will say this though, this looks very, very dangerous to me. If we do actually break down below this descending line of support, if we break below it, then I mean that would be, in my mind, I think that would be very, very tragic. I think bets are off at that point. And I'd probably try to exit all my position. Not financial advice, but I'd probably, if we break through these zones here, probably would be looking to leave my positions and wait for things to settle back down, and actually wait for a bounce, right? Wait for things to again settle in a little bit, and then we can start to consider some entries back into Bitcoin. But again, not until we break this area down here. So we're talking levels or price at around the low 6,000s, right? So not until we get down below the 6,300, 6,200 into say the high 5,000s, like 5,900, based on this analysis, right? I mean, this could be wrong. This could be all wrong, and Bitcoin can definitely show us, that we are wrong. A wick down below in these areas isn't as concerning as actually closing some opening and closing some daily candles below it, even some weekly candles. I mean, that would obviously give us even more conviction, more certainty as to what are we to expect going forward. But again, as long as we don't break this area coming here, I think we'll be all right. Meaning that here's the obvious, right? A little bit of Captain Obvious here. We could either find a bounce here, which I mean it's quite possible, right? We do have this area of support coming in here. I am using Bitstamp, so it's not my typical. I'm not using my typical Binance chart. So adjust your charts accordingly. So I'm looking at this pivot here also to hold, because it is coming in confluence with the 382. So I'm hoping that it'll hold. But again, if it doesn't, then that should mean that we are going to find support down in this trend line. But again, this is Bitcoin, so it doesn't always play out that way. I actually posted an update on Twitter on Monday, and then not even an hour later, Bitcoin just, crushed, I think, through my update. So if you were following me on Twitter at @TheRealSha256, I think you would know what I'm talking about. Let's actually show you what I'm talking about. This chart right here, I posted on Monday before this dip here. I was telling you guys that we seem to be trading in this sort of falling wedge, and then that we would find support around, what was that, 8250. But Bitcoin, typical fashion, just showing us that it doesn't care what people think or say. It's just going to do its own thing, and it's again not based on any news or any event. It's just doing what it's doing, right? It's just working its way down, setting lower lows and new lower highs. That seems to be the trend, as we do see it here within this update. I thought maybe if we found a bounce right here around 8250, we could potentially, watch this descending line of resistance, and if we break above it, then we were on for a nice little run up to about 92, 9300. But that certainly was not the case. So now we're looking at this here, currently sitting at 8130. I think the low of it was the low of it 8,010. Yep, $8,010. So that was the ultimate low, and then we are sort of finding a bounce. But if we do keep on this trend, setting lower lows and higher lows, lower highs, excuse me, I do think we are going to work our way back down to retest again. First of all, there's this pivot here, should act as a little bit of support here, around 7,800, and then we have 74. What is it? 7430. Should be another pivot, another place of support. And actually, let me adjust this line. It's coming right, slightly right in that area, around 73.79 is what the this marker is telling us. And then again, the 382 is coming in right there. So I do think we should find plenty of support. If we do break below it, again, it's just continuation of the same trend, setting lower lows and also lower highs. So again, if we break down below it, look for Bitcoin to go to about 600, we'll call it, and slip downwards into this sort of corner down here where these two trend lines are meeting, which is around the low 6,000s. We'll call it 6150, 6190, somewhere in that range. And then that'll be the critical, really just pivotal moment where we either have a definite bounce off this area, or we actually break down below it. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. I think that's more of a midterm analysis type of thing that we could see potentially by the end of the year, maybe into January. What is this telling us? If we go right in this area, we're talking end of December, end of the year. Yeah, maybe January. So again, these moves take time, right? Like I also was mentioning on my Twitter account a couple of weeks ago, after this run, I was setting my buy orders around 8,200 to 8,300, and then I moved them up all the way up to 85 and 8,600, thinking that we might initially have a bounce around this area here where my cursor is at. And it turns out that my original buy-in orders were correct. So stick to your guns. That's one thing that I learned this past week, is I should have stuck to my guns. I knew that was a possibility, a real possibility. Maybe 8,200 was seemingly a less of a possibility, but it actually ended up playing out. It's just a game of patience, right? Like Mr. Buffet usually says, most people don't want to get rich slowly. They want to get rich quick. So this is a game of patience, right? So it really tested my patience, and I actually moved up my buying orders, which I shouldn't have done. I should have stuck to my guns. However, I'm still DCAing back into Bitcoin and waiting for this bounce. Which on the other side, or the flip side of this whole thing, we'll actually go into my Binance chart here. On the flip side, we were seemingly, let me get rid of some of these trend lines here so we make this look a little cleaner. There we go. These are all, and you can always go back, and we can always replot them, and you can always go back to my past videos too, if you want to reference those at any point. Let's actually switch back to auto, and here we go. And here's the move. Here is what we were seemingly trading on, right? This sort of falling wedge. You can actually go back to this point here. This is kind of what we were trading in, right? This is this falling wedge, if you will. Which, two things, right? Again, we're still within the golden pocket, right? Actually, I plotted this one incorrectly. My apologies. I did this a few days ago. Right here. Okay. All right, we're still within this golden pocket area. So going back to what we usually see with Bitcoin, I mean, can it certainly? I mean, we were just talking about these levels down here, right? We're just talking about that with on my Bitstamp chart. Now, if we look at the long-term analysis, let's actually go back to the daily, right? These levels down here at 63 lows. Let's just call them low 6,000. All right, so we'll need to zoom in for you guys. All right, so again, going back to reference a little bit of history with typical fashion in Bitcoin is, we're still holding this the 0.3 or 0.2 fib extension. So we're still holding that. We're still having a little bit of a bounce there. So as long as we're within those levels, still, we're sort of within the norm in Bitcoin's usual trading style, right? And currently, right now, we've obviously left. Here's a little bit of a comparison, right? We were within the wedge, and then we're not, right? We definitely broke below it. Now this trend has been broken, in my opinion. We're looking at the daily chart. We actually closed this daily, opened and closed daily, and now we opened the new daily below the trend here. So I mean, this trend seems to have been broken. We'll see where the new daily candle, this one here that just opened up about 3 hours ago. We'll see where this one ends, right? We'll see where this one closes tomorrow at 5 p.m. Excuse me, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Pacific time. And that should be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See where this one closes. If we do close below it, I mean, it's just continuation and confirmation that this trend has been broken, and we're now moving on to other things. Or it could be that we just need to adjust. That's sometimes this is about keep adjusting and playing with your lines, right? But it does. So here's sort of the bullish case, or the good thing. Look how extended on the daily we are as far as the RSI being in the bearish territory, or oversold, if you will. I mean, you can definitely. I've seen people use both terms. I don't like to use oversold because it doesn't. It's not quite accurate in my opinion, because again, this could continue to run further down, and we can continue to trade within the lower portion of the RSI here, the stochastic, and also people can continue to sell off, right? I did see a stat by CoinStats. If you want to check those guys out, not a plug or anything, coinstat.com. They actually put out a nice little tweet where they were showing that today, in the last 24 hours, there was an overage of sellers over buyers to the tune of about 64 to 56%, somewhere in that range. So I mean, that just tells you the current state of this market, right? There's currently more sellers, obviously, than buyers, and so we are going to continue to see this trend here. Just have continuation. I know it's kind of redundant, but that's what it is. We should continue to see more red candles unless that flips over and we do find that there's more buyers and sellers, and that momentum can carry on and actually find a bounce. So going back to that, based on this update here, one thing to really pay attention to is, again, we're continuing to establish lower lows, and then we broke this trend line, right? So that's two things to pay attention to. Lower lows, broke the trend line, and for this one, we also broke down below the 200 EMA. So we're currently holding the 377, but and this is good, right? This is good because we do have a little bit of confluence. It's going to look a little messy, but again, we have a little bit of confluence. We have the bottom edge here of the 0.2 right here, coming in confluence with the 377, right? So again, that's another major point of reference. If we break below this, the 377 and the 0.2. Obviously, that is more of an indication that we are going to that we are going to revisit these levels down here again, closer to the low 6,000, mid 6,000s first, where this previous pivot is coming here at 7,300. If we break below that, I mean, it would seemingly look like we would break below it and come back and retest I want to say high 6,000s first before we move on to lower lows, even lower lows, and again that could potentially take us into the end of December before we find an absolute bottom down in these areas down here. This will be let's actually set up a little price range indicator box here. If we break down below this box here, then we are going to find ourselves in a lot of trouble. But again, I think that's better. I think that's better. But again, we're still ways from that. A lot of things can happen right now. I will say this. I will say this on a shorter term. I do think we are looking like Bitcoin has found sort of a not a local bottom, but definitely sort of a short-term bottom. The 377 and the 0.2 coming in confluence here does give me a little bit of confidence to put in another buy order, and I actually did at 8,100. I put another buy order right around that range, and I'm still holding that. I'm not sure if I want to enter a long here, but definitely on spot. I am holding. I did put in a buy order at 8,100. That one actually executed, and we're currently that's where we're currently at. I do again think that we are going to find a bounce here, but it could be quickly rejected off of this ascending line of support. But this will be true again, right? This is also true if we do find that we get back into this trend here and break above this descending line of resistance, which we show here as well. If we do break above it, then we know we could potentially come back and retest this long-term descending line of resistance here, which would again also make sense because we would also again set another lower high based on this macro trend, right? Based on the macro trend. So that is basically the main thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. Just be aware of both scenarios, kind of where we're at. Again, I do think we could find a temporary bounce here into quite possibly around 9,200. That is still holding true, as I was telling you guys on this little tweet over here. Well, I was giving you a higher target, possible target, but based on this move, again, we need to reassess. Based on the fact that we broke below this here, we need to reassess and rethink our strategy. I do think that again we could potentially come back and retest now around 9,200 is where I'll leave it at the max, at the absolute sort of maximum right here. If we do break above that 9,200 again over where my cursor is and this descending line of resistance, if we break above that, then we could potentially come back and retest 10.3, right, as we did back here. But again, that possibility seems to be fading away. It seems less and less likely for that to happen. But again, let's actually wait and see what happens, right? Okay, so that is what I had for you guys as far as Bitcoin update. Let me know what you guys think. Definitely leave it down in the comments. If there's something that you guys would like for me to look at, definitely leave it down in the comments. I do like Chainlink. Again, I have been a big fan. I am waiting for a good point to enter. This might be a good point here. I have not, to be fully transparent with you guys, I have not entered a trade into Link, but this might be a good place to actually do so, as we do see here. Link is actually setting a different trend here. Link is actually letting us know that it's still within a very bullish posture here, setting higher lows and higher highs. Let's actually readjust this line here, and let's actually change the color on this one. And here we go. All right. So let me actually. We want to get rid of this. Nah, not yet. Not quite. No, but let me do this. That way we can see it a little bit better. Let's get rid of these moving averages for the time being. There we go. We actually had another trend line drawn here. We're going to get rid of it. All right. So I do like Link. This is probably one of the few altcoins that is definitely looking bullish, as bullish as this market can get at this current moment with Bitcoin dumping and all. It's still holding this posture here, and I really, really like this. Again, not setting a lower low, holding this range here around 2.65. Actually holding it above it. We did wick below, but that's again, wicks are not something to really worry about. It's the closing, the opening and the closing that is more worrisome to me, or indicative of what's going on. So I do see here that we did reject off of this, or bounce. I'm sorry, off of this, and we're having a little bit of continuation. This candle here on the daily is sort of a hanging. Yeah, sort of a hanging man, or an inverse, or yeah, sort of a inverse hanging man, or a hammer candle. So these things can signal a reversal in trend, right? So this could be that we did have the three black crows. We did have the three consecutive red candles, and then we did see this candle here sort of resembling or representing a possible reversal. So we could again potentially see a bounce here with Link, as we are seeing at the current moment. I don't know. I'm definitely analyzing the Link to see if I am going to enter a trade. Let's actually look at Bitcoin here on the daily. Same kind of candle here. Same sort of reversal indicator. We did see two consecutive days of selling pressure. This could actually turn around and have continuation to the downside into the 7,900 and break through the $8,000 barrier. So I mean, at this point, although this seems like it could signal and trigger a reversal, still not quite sure. We're gonna have to see if we find confirmation here within this daily candle and see what happens there. So let's keep an eye on it. I will certainly be doing that. And again, this same kind of thing here. This is sort of signaling a reversal after the three black crows. So this seems like more of a definitive bottom here, temporary bottom or short-term bottom here. And now we're sort of seeing a possible bounce on Link's behalf, right? That's on a daily. Let's actually look at what the 4 hour is saying. Daily is looking like it wants to really come back down and retest. Now this is not good. Let's see, this is not so good. I mean, it definitely broke this trend line down here from this point, right? It looks like it's breaking this trend line here of support here within the RSI. Definitely not liking this. Also, this is a higher bottom than this guy here. This is a lower bottom. So we could find a little bit of divergence here. Could be something. This could actually signal a further sell, unless, again, unless Link can find a bounce here relatively quick, sooner rather than later, and close above or within this line of previous support, this trend line of support. I mean, it goes back to this low here in September, end of September. So I mean, this does sort of point something of concern to me. If I am going to enter a trade, I don't think I want to do it just now. I think I want to find a little bit more confidence in the price action here. Maybe find continuation and see where the RSI actually heads. If it continues down below this trend line here, I will not be entering a trade. I will actually wait for Link to finish its move to the bottom, to the short-term local bottom, and go from there. But at this point, that is something that I am not liking at all. That is the daily. Let's actually look at the 4 hour. 4 hours giving us actually the exact opposite signal. I do like what I see here. We do see sort of a bearish or bullish engulfing sort of looking like candle here. This is pretty good. Three black crows, We usually see this as a good signal for for reversal. This is looking good on the 4-hour. So on the short term of things, this looks a lot better. I will say that. If we can break above the 21 EMA here on the RSI, because we do have a little bit of a trend forming here between this point here. So yeah, just man, this is a hard one. This is a hard one because I mean, this candle right here is pointing to a reversal here, and we do see continuation. A little bit of hesitation, but continuation nonetheless. I do like this on the short term. Let's see what we've got so far. About 5, almost 6% run from this bottom here. Do like that. Geez. Don't like the volume though. This buying volume, not enough. Not unless we break above the exponential here. I would be willing to say that there's more of a possibility that we do find continuation to the upside. This might get disrupted here based on the daily, and just seeing where we are going to end up closing this next 4-hour candle. There's a little bit of time left, actually about 40 minutes left before we close this 4-hour candle. I am actually going to have to wait on this if I want to make this trade. It's all about risk management, guys, too. This seems like a really risky move at the moment. I don't want to. It's above my risk tolerance, so I'm not going to enter that trade here. But it's good analysis for the time being. So we'll have to wait on that. BNB sort of doing what we just saw. What we just saw with Link having a nice bounce. Long term, though, let's actually look at the daily for more of a longer term outlook here and analysis. Also looking pretty good. I do like that we are setting these higher lows. There we go. And we are doing this sort of thing. We did break above it, above this previous line of resistance, broke back down, and we're currently, this doesn't necessarily mean, to me on a daily, it doesn't necessarily mean that this run to the downside is necessarily over. We'll have to see where this daily candle ends tomorrow at, again, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See where this one ends, and then continue to assess. It does look like the run has been extended pretty far. It is also sort of looking like it might actually be the short-term bottom here for this trend here. We could potentially find a bounce here. So I mean, there's indicators on both sides. So, but I definitely want to wait for a little bit more of a certain confirmation here. Don't want to prematurely enter a trade here. Again, not too convinced on this. This should be like a high risk, high reward, because you are almost catching the very bottom, not the absolute bottom, but near the very bottom. So I mean, this would be a high risk, high reward type of trade. By all means, I don't take it as financial advice, but by all means, do what you will. Let's look at the 4-hour. Go back to the 4-hour, see what it's showing us. Again, there's a little bit of a bounce already initiated on the 4-hour, but again, not looking too certain. There is a little bit of a trend forming here on the RSI as well. I'll say this: the 21 here EMA coming in within the stochastic. Let's actually make this a little bit larger so we can see it better. Okay, so here's a better look at it. If we do break above this descending trend line and break above the 21, I do think we find confirmation of that run back up to these higher levels. Quite possibly. Let's actually get rid of this guy, because this move, I think, would actually signal, and this would be also a confirmation of this current trend that we're in within BNB and Link. if we actually find another higher high around 22.36 or 39, 22.40 is what we'll call it. We'll call it that. Let's actually put a little bit of a target area here. All right, for future reference, see if we actually can get back into this zone right here. All right, that's for future reference. Let's see. All right, so that's the 4-hour BNB. Let's actually look at Litecoin now. Yeah, it does definitely look like it wants to continue down on this trend. Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin actually, have very similar patterns. Whatever Bitcoin does, I do think that we're going to find that Litecoin actually continues on that same pattern, right? We bring out some EMAs here. 4-hour looks pretty consolidated. I mean, it looks like it's trading below the area of consolidation here, so it's definitely looking bearish. Let's look at the daily. Let's look at the daily here. I can get rid of one of these guys. All right. Let's actually clean it up a little bit more. There we go. Daily is below every moving average now. I mean, it does look like continuation to the downside. Does look like continuation to the downside. I'd be really worried if we break 49.50. If we break 49.50, I think we'll be setting in another lower high or lower low, sorry, and just further continuation to the downside. I mean, it looked bullish to start, but then kind of is losing its luster here. This ascending wedge here. So, I mean, this could be reversal, right? Because everything seems to be extended to the downside. And again, with Bitcoin, if we find a bounce in this range here, then I do think that everything else should be following in with that. So, yeah, we need to wait and see what this does to kind of, give us a bigger hint as to what Litecoin might do. Ethereum, same thing as Litecoins. I mean, almost to the T, right? Does seem like it wants to find a bottom here at 175. Getting into the bear control zone here on the daily. It's actually the 4-hour. 4-hour is also signaling a potential reversal. So in confluence with the rest of the alts, does look like we are going to find a bounce here. ADA, Cardano, same thing. XLN, same thing. More of a weak bounce on VeChain. EOS. Yeah, I mean, everything is in confluence. Everything is sort of having a sort of a breather as far as the selling pressure. Does look like we could actually find a short-term bounce. I want to call this a short-term bounce. I'm not too convinced that we are going to find, a huge bounce or anything to be really too excited about. Again, we still have this descending line of resistance here within Bitcoin. That should be coming around 8,400. If we break above it, then that'll be a great indicator that we might actually come back and retest at the 200 here at 87. That'll be the next area of interest to me, which is also confluent with a previous pivot of support and resistance with the 200 right here. Let's actually switch that to red. And if we break above this descending line of resistance here, then that could also indicate a break of this pattern, and and we find resolution here, and then we move on to something else. All right. Okay. So as always, I do want to say thank you, and thanks for those who recently have hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. This is a community of welcoming individuals who are keen on technical analysis. If you are here, hope that you are enjoying these videos and this content. If you did, please hit the like button and also share it with your friends or anybody who's of similar interest. And I do appreciate you guys being here. Hope that you got something in exchange for your time today. And if not, give it some thumbs down and leave some constructive criticism down below. All right, guys, I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining.